I can't tell you what to do, but I've got some definite do nots for you. I decided, I'm just filming. So, that's my mom. I know, I'm such a dork. So you're getting ready to send out to beta readers. Congratulations, I'm proud of you. I am joined today by my bird friends in the treetops and just doing this super casual. We're just gonna have a talk about what I did when I sent out to beta readers, how it went for me, what I would change, what worked and what didn't. So this month of May marks 1 year exactly from the time that I sent out my book to beta readers for the very first time. And let me tell you, that was an experience. It was a stressful experience and a really amazing experience. It was good, it was scary, it was all of those things. And if you're getting ready to send out to betas right now, I'm sure you know the feeling in the pit of your stomach where you kind of want to throw up, but you also want to jump with excitement. Yes, quite the juxtaposition of feelings going on inside of you right now. This shirt, I designed that. Yes, I did. Drew it myself, painted it myself. Yes, and that's an Anne of Green Gables quote because Anne of Green Gables is my favorite book. Actually, Little Women. No, Anne of Green Gables, Little Women, they're my favorites. Anyways, back to beta readers. I'm no expert or anything, but I definitely found some things that worked well for me and some things that did not work well for me. I could not have asked for a better pool of beta readers, and I feel like I totally lucked out there. That was nothing that I did. I had sent out my second draft of the novel to an alpha reader who at the time I referred to as my critique partner. That's not really accurate. She wasn't my critique partner because she wasn't writing herself and I wasn't critiquing her work. So really it's more accurate to say she was an alpha reader. She's my best friend and I've been showing her my writing since we were little kids. So it felt natural to give it to her. So she read it and her feedback ultimately led me to cut 30,000 words from the beginning of my novel, which sounds insane, and it kind of is. It made sense if you were watching my vlogs at the time. So I cut out 30,000 words of the novel, made a few changes, and was rewriting the book. So I was on draft 3, and I was about halfway through rewriting draft 3, and I thought, I'm going at a pretty good pace here. If I can keep up this pace, I might as well just start sending out to beta readers right now, and I'll just keep revising ahead of them and send it as I'm done. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Spoiler alert, it was not a good idea. It was a terrible idea. I started sending out to beta readers in May. I started looking for them in February, actually. I wanted to give people a pretty good idea what they could expect from my novel. So I created like a Western-themed wanted poster for beta readers, and I posted this on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and then I also went to some beta groups on Goodreads, and then on Facebook there was a beta readers wanted group, or there still is. So I really just sent out anywhere that I could think of for beta readers. Oddly enough, I did not on my YouTube channel ask for beta readers, which seems like, why didn't I use that platform? I don't know. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't. But I did send out pretty much everywhere else. The Goodreads group was a no-go for me. I didn't get a single offer or a single beta reader from there. And looking over it, it looked like people were mostly looking for romance or fantasy or sci-fi that they were willing to read. There wasn't a lot of interest in Westerns anywhere. I'm just gonna say that out front. I got one beta reader from Twitter. I got no beta readers from Facebook. I actually had one person offer to read for me on Facebook, but when the time came to actually send out my manuscript, I never heard back from her. So basically the wanted poster thing didn't really work out in my favor. I didn't get any beta readers from that except for one. Despite that I did get one of my beta readers from Twitter, I'm gonna say that Twitter also didn't work out for me because that one beta reader was also a friend that I'd already made on AuthorTube. So I don't know, maybe she wouldn't have known I was looking for beta readers if I hadn't posted to Twitter, so maybe I shouldn't totally discard Twitter as helpful, but for me, you know, Twitter was helpful in getting that one beta reader. So it sounds like I didn't get beta readers anywhere, but oddly enough, I started out with, wait for it,
18 beta readers.
I know what you're thinking. Where did they all come from if I didn't get them on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram? Yes, bird, yes. I hear you. You're beautiful. Half of my beta readers were actually people that I know in my real life, friends of mine who are also writers or who are just avid readers and who had been offering for years to beta for me. I knew I didn't want that group of people solely as beta readers because I wanted some people who were, a little bit not quite so close to me and not quite so biased. Half of my beta readers came from friends and family, and then the other half came from friends who I had made on AuthorTube, actually. They were friends that I had made by being in the same cabin with them during Camp NaNoWriMo. So I would highly encourage being active in whatever writing community you're a part of and making friends there, because in the end, that's what ended up working out the best for me in finding beta readers. So I started out with 18 beta readers total, and then I did expect to have some dropouts because I feel like that's something you just have to plan for when you're sending out to beta readers, and not necessarily because your book is garbage and no one wants to read it. It just happens. Everybody is busy. They've got jobs, they've got school, they've got families, and unexpected things pop up, and you just have to plan for the unexpected. Just plan that not everybody is going to be able to stick with reading this the whole way through. And then you do also have to plan for the fact that some people just will not be that interested in reading a really rough draft, and it sounds exciting at first to be a beta reader, but then when you're actually reading it and you're like, yeah, this is not good, I feel awkward. Yeah, you just have to plan for that. I have actually been a beta reader myself, and I had been a beta reader several times before looking for beta readers myself, and so I kind of knew their perspective that they were coming from, and I tried to be really understanding of that when I sent out my book to them. So that's another thing that I would highly recommend, is if you have not done it before, look for opportunities to beta read for other writers. That will give you a lot better idea of what to expect when you are sending out to beta readers. Setting up expectations between you and your beta readers right from the get-go is going to make a big difference for you. What I did to set up expectations and let my beta readers know how the process was going to go, what I wanted from them, and what I hoped to provide for them, I created a video, because that's what I do. I'm on YouTube, I make videos about stuff, but that's what I did. I created a little instruction video, and it's not listed on my YouTube channel, but I will go ahead and link it down below for anybody who's curious. I don't know if you might want to see that. Just know what I did. It's not perfect, and in the future I think what I would do differently is I would actually just write out the instructions and send that to my beta readers in an email, and then maybe also do a video, and then just give them the option of if they want to just read the email or watch the video. Some people just don't have time to sit there and watch a whole video, and all they want to do is get started with the beta reading, because you're already taking up a lot of their time by sending them your draft to read for free. In hindsight, I'm like, that was just taking up even more of their time, expecting them to watch this whole video on what I expected. However, some people really liked watching the video and they found that helpful, and they would have preferred that over reading instructions. So in the future, I would just want to provide both options to my beta readers so they can do whatever is going to be the most convenient and time-saving for them. Your beta readers are doing you an incredible service, especially if they're doing it for free. They're not getting anything out of it. So the more that you can do to make the process streamlined and not super time consuming, that's what you should do. And that's what I want to do in the future, is just, give the beta readers some options. But once those expectations were all set up, I decided to send out my document to them via Google Docs because it was easy for me. And I felt like most people have access to Google Docs. So just seemed, simple. After having been a beta reader myself for several different books and having done it in different ways depending on what the author wanted, I knew two things for sure. I knew that, one, I did not want to send out my entire draft all at once because I didn't want to be sending out my draft to readers who were not going to read the whole thing. And I wanted to be able to gauge how far they were throughout the book at different times and then just send them more when they finished whatever part they were on. The second thing was that I did not want all of my beta readers to be working on the same document. I wanted them all to have their very own unique document because I didn't want them to be able to see other beta readers' comments and opinions. Now, there are a lot of cases where this can be a good thing, and I think that I will do that later down the road. But at this point in the draft, I didn't want my beta readers to be influenced by anybody's opinions but their own. I wanted to know, okay, what do they think right off the bat? You know, what are their thoughts and impressions if they were reading this book totally by themselves without anyone else present? And I didn't even want their opinions to be influenced by me. So I was not communicating with them or responding to their comments throughout the process. I just sent it and let them do their thing. And then when they were done, I thanked them, sent them the next part. So I divided my book up into 6 parts. Originally it was 4 parts, but since I was still revising it just ahead of my beta readers, I realized that the ending was not as finished as I originally thought it was and needed a lot more work, and ended up having to extend it to be 6 parts long. This is one of the reasons I say it was a big mistake to start sending out the draft before it was done, because I grossly underestimated how long it was going to take to have it ready and send out to beta readers, and how long it was going to take them to read it, because I thought the book was going to be this long and it ended up being this long. God bless my wonderful beta readers who read all the way to the end. Honestly, you guys are amazing. So I created individual drafts for each of my beta readers, sent those out, and then I tracked who had what part of the book when, who had finished what part of the book, what they were currently reading, if they had started it yet or not, using Google Sheets. I just had a line for each beta reader, and then boxes that I filled with different colors depending on what it was. So when I sent out one part to somebody, I would mark that part in yellow so I knew that they had it. Once they started reading it, and I knew that they had started reading it because you can see on the document their little like face in a round circle at the top of the document. Anyways, if they were commenting on the document actively, I was getting updates of those comments in my email, so I could tell when people had started reading a document. So once they started reading the document, I highlighted that in green, and then once they had finished that section and answered all the questions in the questionnaire at the bottom of the section, I filled it out in purple so I knew that they were done. I believe that was my color scheme. And then if they ended up dropping out as a beta reader, I highlighted that section that they dropped out on in red, so I knew this is where they stopped reading. And I wanted to see if there would be multiple people dropping out on the same section to see if like, oh, maybe this section is just really boring. There was no consistency anywhere in any of my beta readers. Every beta reader was completely different, had really different opinions. I tracked things because I wanted to see patterns. Didn't really see any patterns because everybody was totally different, and that was okay. That was actually really helpful too. I'm gonna be honest, in the beginning I didn't think I was going to need to track who was reading where, who was on what part and all of that, because I thought, I'll be able to remember. That would have been a really big mistake. I'm so glad I followed the advice of other people's beta videos that I had watched on YouTube, because that would have been a nightmare and a headache for me, because I would not have remembered who had what part, and yuck. It would have been really difficult. So at the end of every one of the 6 parts, I had a little questionnaire for that part. These are the questions that I asked. I'll just put them up on the screen because I don't have them off the top of my head. But these were the questions. And the questions did vary slightly from one section to another based on what in particular I needed to know about that specific section, and also based on the feedback I'd gotten on the previous section, kind of follow-up questions. So it did vary, but for the most part, the questions were the same at the end of every section. And then at the end of all 6 parts of the book, I had one long questionnaire for the book as a whole. Actually, it wasn't long. All of my questionnaires were between 10 and 11 questions long, and then the last questionnaire of the book as a whole was also, I think, 11 questions long. Maybe it was 10, but I think it was 11. These were the questions. I feel like these questions were helpful in guiding my beta readers to give me the kind of feedback that I wanted, but I didn't really need them in the end because I'd had my beta readers leave comments throughout the document. So they would just highlight parts where they had a thought and they would put their thought in there. And their comments reflected really well what they thought about the manuscript. So in the future, I don't know that I'll do both a questionnaire and have them comment throughout the document. I might just have them do one or the other. I want to say that based on how long it took me to organize all of the comment feedback, it took me 9 months. I want to say that I'm never going to do the comment feedback again and I'll just stick strictly to questionnaires. However, here's the reason I'm not going to say that. It took me 9 months to organize all the comment feedback because I waited until the end to do it. In the future, what I'm going to do is I'm going to organize that feedback as it comes in. So I get that little email notification, hey, so-and-so left a comment here. I will take that comment and I will put it where it belongs on my document. Let's get into that, by the way. I had maybe 4 or 5 beta readers drop out somewhere along the way, but I ended with about 14 or 15 beta readers who read all the way through, which I think is really good. Because you guys, I thought I was going to be lucky if I had 4 or 5 beta readers. I thought I'd be lucky if I had 2 or 1, but I did not expect to have as many as I did, and I did not expect just how mind-blowingly helpful their feedback was. I was expecting to have a few beta readers whose feedback was like, so-so, or not that helpful, or commenting more on grammar than anything else. And there were a few comments like that, but overall, all of my beta readers were really, really helpful and gave really genuine, honest feedback that, to be honest, as it was coming in, it stung a little bit because, you know, that's your baby. You're putting it out there for people to judge. And I expected that. But I also remember, because I was getting email notifications every time somebody commented on a document, I knew I should wait to look at them, but I just couldn't help it because curiosity, guys, curiosity. I wanted to know what people were saying, what people thought about my book. And so I read the comments, even though I told all my beta readers I wasn't going to, I did. I read the comments as they came in. And sometimes they were really thrilling, and sometimes they were really, made me feel so sad. So I was just like, it was a wild roller coaster of emotions, let me tell you. One comment would come in that was like, this is amazing, I love it. And the next comment would be like, I didn't like this so much. It's not a mean thing to say, but for some reason it felt like everything seemed like a much bigger deal at the time than it really was. Going back and looking at those same comments later on after some time had passed, I was like, oh, these are all really, really nice comments. But when they were coming in, it was like everything felt 10 times what it actually was. So if there was a comment that was even in the remotest sense negative, the negativity was just like blown out of proportion in my mind, and I was like, oh my gosh, they hate it. The good stuff was not as blown out of proportion in my mind for whatever reason. The negative stuff, that gets blown out of proportion. Some people might say don't read the feedback as it comes in because it's just going to be too hard to handle. I'll leave that up to you to decide, but in my humble opinion, go ahead, read the feedback as it comes in. Just recognize when you're reading the feedback that everything is being way blown out of proportion in your mind and nothing is as serious or as big a deal as you think it is. Unless you have really mean beta readers, which happens to some people. If you have really mean beta readers, then just drop them. I don't know. I don't have any advice for you about mean beta readers because all of mine were really nice. I lucked out there. So once everything was all done, all the beta reader feedback was in, that's when I decided I was gonna start organizing all the feedback. Again, I cannot stress enough how much I would do this differently in the future, or if I could go back in time. If I could go back in time, I would organize the feedback as it came in, one blessed comment at a time. I would not wait until I had all of the feedback and then dive in to start organizing it. This is what was going through my head. At the time, I was like, okay, it will be good for me to take a break from revisions and working on the book to just focus on all this feedback that came in and sift through it and treasure it and love it and figure out where to put it. And then by the time I'm done with that, I'll be ready to dive back into my book because that will give me a week or two away from the book. Silly me. It took me 9 months, people. It took me 9 months. 9 freaking months to do that. If I'd known it was going to take me 9 months to do it, I don't know what I would have done. To be fair, part of the reason it took me 9 months is because right as I was diving into this project of organizing all of my beta feedback, we ended up moving unexpectedly out of the blue. We had this crazy carpet beetle infestation, and we moved out of state to Oregon, and we're living with my parents, and then I had to get a new job here in Oregon, and yeah, a lot of stuff has happened, and most of you have probably seen all that on my channel already. And so there were a lot of other things going on that were making it take longer to get through all of my beta feedback, but I have been working on it fairly consistently considering all that was going on. And what do I mean when I say that I organized my feedback? What does that even mean? Because it was such a process, I actually filmed a separate video all about my process of organizing feedback. That is going to be posted Monday of next week. Each of my beta readers had 6 documents each to read because the book was split into 6 parts. They all had their own documents. Altogether, it was about 90 something documents. And then they all made comments throughout the documents. And in order to read their feedback, I had to go click into each individual document to see what the feedback was that I had gotten there. And we all know that was going to be way too time consuming. And I wanted it all in one place that I could see it all organized in the order that the comments go in the book. So I have my hard copy of my book, pretend it's here in my hands. I didn't bring it with me because this is, you know, super informal, but pretend I have my physical copy here in my hands, and then I wanted to have a physical copy of all of my beta feedback also, so that I could read them both side by side. And maybe I'll insert a clip because let's be honest, I already filmed this twice, so maybe I'll insert a clip here of me showing that. I had my manuscript already printed out like this. All of these tabs are places where my beta readers actually made comments in the document. I just went through and highlighted every single place a comment was made, and then I wanted to print out the feedback of my beta readers also in a hard copy like this so that I could read them side by side. So this is the printed out version of all of my beta feedback, and as you can see, this is actually thicker than my actual manuscript. So yeah, that's kind of insane. Overall, once all of the beta feedback was compiled together, it was like over 100,000 words. So this is a novel's worth of beta feedback. Now that all is said and done, I am very pleased to have all of my beta feedback nicely bound in one hard copy. And it's really easy to just turn the pages and be like, oh, I'm revising chapter 10 today. What was the feedback I got in chapter 10? And just switch over to chapter 10. I can see all the beta feedback there. I can see the answers to everybody's questionnaires for that part of the book. It is really nice to have it. I'll be honest about that. It is not nice that it took me 9 months to do and that it took me 9 months to get back into actually revising my book. I would not recommend that at all because now that I actually am revising, it's hard to do because I've gone 9 months without writing anything, and there are parts where I need to write new words, and it is easy to shuffle things around, especially because I'm doing it all on Scrivener. It is not easy to write the new words though. Yeah, so in the future, things that I'm gonna do differently are, instead of sending out for beta readers all over the planet, I'm gonna try to use the same beta readers that I used this time around because they were amazing. And some of them were kind enough to say they would beta for me again in the future. And I'm actually holding them to that. Maybe they were just being polite, but I'm just like, I need you because they were all so good. Another thing that I would do differently in the future is I would do something big and nice to thank my beta readers, because when this book is good eventually, it will be all because of them. I just wish that maybe I had come up with prizes for them or made it more interactive, made it more like a game, like, hey, whoever finishes this part first gets this, whoever gives this kind of feedback the most gets this, or whoever gives the most clear feedback. I don't know. It would be fun to come up with like little challenges for them just to kind of motivate them, especially because beta reading is fun in the beginning. As somebody who has beta read before, I've noticed that beta reading is really fun in the beginning, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna help you write your book and it's gonna be so good. And then the further you get into it, it's like, man, this book is really long, and you get kind of burnt out a little bit on giving really helpful feedback. My beta readers were strung along for so long because I was still revising, and I had to keep emailing them and being like, I'm so sorry, the next part's not ready yet. I'll have it done by next week. And it was never done by next week. And then the next week I'd be like, I'm so sorry, I'll have it done by next week. I felt like this groveling, sniveling Oh, so embarrassing and awkward, but they were all really nice about it. Yeah, what I would do differently in the future is I would just try to make it a little bit more fun. Well, first of all, I would have the entire manuscript ready to send out so that if beta readers wanted to finish faster, they could, and they wouldn't have to keep waiting on me for so long. The second thing, I'd make it more interactive and fun with like challenges and badges that they could earn or prizes. And then at the end, I would give them like a certificate that would say this was like a stellar beta reader or whatever, something they could show off when they offered a beta read for other people for some reason. I just think that'd be a fun thing to have. I kind of wish I had one of those because I've beta read for lots of people, and it'd be cool if every single one of them gave me something to like prove that I was a good beta reader. It'd make me feel good about myself, and so I don't know. I think it'd be fun to do that for my beta readers in the future. Another thing that I would do differently, obviously, would be to organize all of the beta feedback as it comes in immediately right away. So by the time all the beta readers are done, I'm also done organizing their feedback, and I can just get started on revisions right away while everything is fresh and exciting in my mind. Okay, that's easy for me to say right now that it's been so long since I got all my beta feedback in, but to be honest, if I'm remembering correctly, the beta process is very exhausting, emotionally taxing, because you're getting a lot of feedback all at once and it feels overwhelming. And so I do recommend letting things rest for at least a couple of weeks after all the beta feedback has come in before you really dive into dissecting it and picking it apart and deciding what is helpful for you and what is not. I do recommend taking a rest from it and taking a break from your book so that the next time you look at it, you can look at it with new eyes. That has been helpful for me. I wish that my break had not been 9 months long, but it was a good idea initially to take about a month off from it to let the emotions cool down and to give myself some fresh perspective. After you have a break, going back to that same feedback, you'll be able to see it more realistically. It's not going to be as blown out of proportion as it was the first time, and you'll realize, oh, this comment that like felt like a dagger to the heart in the moment was actually, oh yeah, I see what you're saying, and that wasn't mean at all. They said this way nicer than I thought they did. And you realize after coming back to it from a break that you were being really dramatic. At least that was my experience, and I've heard a few other writers say that, so I'm gonna say that's probably typically what you can expect for yourself too, but maybe not, especially if you've sent out to beta readers before. If you have sent out to beta readers before, please comment below and let me know what you did that was different from what I did and what you liked about it and what you would do differently in the future, because I am going to be sending out my book to a second round of beta readers, I think. When I'm done with this draft is going to take me a really long time because I only just started working on it. Man, the road ahead just seems so long right now, but you know what? I'm done filming this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you found this video helpful or entertaining in some small way. Good luck if you are sending out to beta readers yourself. It's going to be great. Don't be afraid. Be very afraid. No, I'm just kidding. Don't be afraid. Expect it's going to be hard and challenging and fun and exciting, and most of all, it's going to be the best thing that you could ever do for your book. Assuming you have good beta readers, of course. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you later. Bye!
Would you come and take a walk with me? We'll cross over the mountains and we'll reach the pale blue sea. I love you. I'm so glad you love me too. And I wrote this song